Hi guys, in this video I'll focus on interfaces. In the first part of the video I'll demonstrate how we can extend an interface with a new interface. In the second part of the video I'll go over an example. If you're not familiar with interfaces yet, please check out my other video which provides an introduction to interfaces in Java. Here I have an interface A. This interface has a single method named method A. This is implicitly public and abstract. I could make this explicit by adding the two keywords public and abstract. However, I will leave them out for now, so this looks more clean. Next, I create a new interface. I name this interface B. And I want B to extend interface A. I can accomplish this by adding the extends keyword followed by the name of the interface I want to extend. In this case, it's A. Now, inside A, I can optionally define additional abstract methods. In this case, I define method B. Note that this one is also public and abstract. So any class that now implements interface B will be required to provide a definition for A and B. So here I create a class named class X. And class X will implement interface B. So the compiler will force me to provide an implementation for both of these methods, method A and method B. Each of them will output the method name to the console. Here I output method A, and for B I'll output method B. Then I can use this class to create objects of it. Here I create an object named X, and on X I call method A and I call method B. Now running this program will output method A and method B. So we have two keywords here. So we have extends and we have implements. Extends is always used when it's the same type. So when either a class extends another class or when an interface extends another interface. When the types are different, like class and interface, we use implements. A class implements an interface. Extending means that we add to what's already there. So a class that extends another class inherits the methods and the properties, so it extends what's already there. The same applies with interfaces. Here we can see that interface B adds and extends to all the abstract methods that are already in A. Now let's go over a concrete example. I create a new interface named animal. Every animal eats something, so I'll define a method named eat. I want my program to also handle insects and really a variety of insects. So I want to add a new type for insect, but I don't want this to be a class because I have so many different kinds of insects. I want to categorize them further into classes, but I want insect to be just an interface. And insect, so here I have insect, so insect will extend from animal. So I use the extends keyword and animal. This I do because every insect is also an animal. And every insect will now have also the eat method. Inside insect, I create another method called replicate. This is because insects replicate very fast. They create many new insects. So this replicate method returns an array of new insect objects. Next, I create a class named cockroach. And I want cockroach to implement the interface insect. So now inside the cockroach class, I will be required to implement both of these methods. Eat, I output cockroach is eating. And for replicate, I output a quick message. Cockroach is replicating. And then I create a new array, insects with 100 elements. And then I use a loop with an index less than 100, index plus plus. So this goes over the indices of the array. And for each index, I create a new element by creating a new cockroach object. And then at the end, I return the insects array. Next, I create an object of the class in the main. On that object, I call the eat method, and I also call the replicate method on that object. The replicate method will return an array of insects, and I'll use a for each loop to iterate over the elements of the array. Each element represents a nymph, and for each nymph, I call the eat method as well. Now, running this program will output a bunch of messages. The first message is the initial cockroach that's eating. This is in line 10 here. Then it is replicating, and after that there are a bunch of other cockroaches also eating. Now let me recap what we did here. I created an interface named Animal. Animal has a single abstract method named eat. Now I also created an interface named Insect. Insect extends Animal, and it adds an additional method called replicate that returns an array of insects. So now any class that implements insect will have to provide an implementation for eat and for a replicate. Here as an example, I created the cockroach class that implements insect, and so it provides an implementation for eat and for replicate. Now taking this thought a step further, I could build a whole taxonomy of animals here. A hierarchy of types, where animal is at the very top. I can use interface extension like I did with the insect. I can use classes that implement those interface, and I could also add abstract classes or class-based inheritance so that I can build a whole taxonomy of animals and the different behaviors that each type represents. This brings out the full power of object-oriented programming with interface extension and class-based inheritance. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.